We will not just dream about the hydrogen highway.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. In today's video that is going to focus on ITM Power PLC. This was a company that we covered in our most recent top 4 hydrogen video. Subsequently we launched our first in-depth review of one of the companies called Nel, and today has come the time for ITM Power, and this will, similar to Nel, be a 2-series video where the first one is the one that we're going to run over today. ITM Power, very interesting company, a more or less direct competitor to Nel. So let's jump right into it now. So the main business of ITM Power is to design and manufacture products which generate hydrogen gas based on proton exchange membrane technology, PEM, exactly the same as what Nel has as one of their primary products, as well as making refueling stations, another aspect that Nel is also doing. Nel also had the alkaline business, but otherwise than that, ITM Power can be considered a more or less direct competitor to Nel. They're based in England. They are on the London Stock Exchange under the ticker ITM. The revenue, as we discussed in our top 4 hydrogen video, is only 4.5 million as of today. But the market cap is approximately 4.5 USD billion. So quite significant difference between the revenue that they're generating today and how much the company is worth on the stock exchange. They today have over 180 employees that is working on the various products that they are designing and manufacturing as of today. So ITM Power's main business is the electrolyzer, as you can see here, and basically that is being fed with renewable electricity that can be generated from wind, solar. You then also have water, and basically the electrolyzer breaks or separates the water into oxygen and hydrogen. So basically they have green hydrogen, and this is clean energy that can be used for a lot of different purposes. One of them is power to gas storage, one of them is hydrogen fuel, and another one could be for renewable chemistry and refineries on a global scale. And what ITM Power says, this is approximately 1 year ago, this market data is that in UK, which is where they are located and based, the addressable market of the power to gas storage is 1.1 billion, and for fuel it will be 2.8 billion. So obviously in the local market there is definitely opportunities according to them for those two, while as for the renewable chemistry and refineries, as you can see down here, for ammonia they believe that it's 0.3 billion in UK but 33 billion globally. For methanol it's $6 billion in UK but 30 billion globally. For steel production it's 0.6 billion in UK, 80 billion globally, and for refineries is 1.3 billion in UK and 90 billion globally. So obviously they believe that there's a potential big market for their product. Obviously, as we just saw, the revenue is still very small, so they have not even tapped in a small percentage into this, but they believe as time goes by that there will be more opportunities to sell their product to be used within these 3 areas. So if we dig a bit deeper into the main product, the PEM, it's basically, as we said, an electrolyzer that can produce self-pressurized hydrogen gas, and they have the smallest version, the H-Gas 1SP. It's containerized, it's based on a single high-efficient PEM electrolyzer stack. It is 0.7 megawatt at the start of the life, and it's able to produce 270 kilo of hydrogen per day. This one can then be scaled up, and this is where the H-Gas 2SP comes in. Here it is basically just 2 high efficient PEM electrolyzer stacks, so basically 2 small ones that is combined into one, and they're able to produce the double amount, 540 kilo of hydrogen per day. Similar, we can go up one more time, it's the H-Gas 3SP. That is based on 3 high-efficient PEM electrolyzer stacks, and it's able to produce 800 kilo of hydrogen per day. So essentially one product in 3 different versions. Then they finally have what they call the H-Gas XMW. Here it is basically different in the sense that it's based on modules of 3 ITM power stacks that we just ran over before. Each of the 3 stack module is built on a skid frame, and it's rated at 2 megawatt capacity at the beginning of life. So basically here you have a system on a skid frame that can be scaled up. So the number of the 2 megawatt modules in the system is scaled according to the requirements of the customer. So for example, if a customer wants a 10 megawatt electrolyzer system, it would be made up of 5 2 megawatt modules. And what is interesting is that the modules can work independently. So 2 megawatt can work separately from the next 2 megawatt, etc., etc. So that basically gives the customer some flexibility, which is obviously good. And it's quite interesting to see here because the first product was obviously the H-Gas 1SSP, and similar to what we saw on Nel, what these companies are basically working towards is scalability. They want to make their products bigger, more efficient, better essentially, and that is the way this is going to move in the forward. And we will see, as you can see already here on this information, this is what ITM Power is working towards, and they're working towards making even bigger systems in the future. So just to illustrate quickly how the products can be used in different applications, you see here 3 different examples. You see the containerized products being used, for example, in a 3 megawatt refueling hub. The skid mounted products could be used for an 8 megawatt train refueling stations. And finally, for what they call build house products, which we believe it's inside, for example, a refinery that can be indoor. They could have a 10 megawatt electrolyzers, which is also based on the skid mounted product system. And what is very important for ITM is to become profitable, and they believe that that will happen through scale, as we've mentioned before, volume, which today is quite insignificant, and partnerships, where they have a few interesting ones that we're going to take a look at later in this video. But let's take a look at the scale part first from a technology perspective. ITM Power today is primarily participating in smaller projects, and they do understand that in order to become attractive for large-scale projects, they need to have bigger products. So they are currently working on developing a 5 megawatt stack module, which should be the response to this to become more attractive for large projects. And basically what they're saying is that the market is demanding larger scale projects. So without this, they will not be able to compete for those. And what they're very aware about, which was also the case for Nel that we analyzed in our separate video, is that standardization and modularity at scale is going to be critical. So ITM Power is working on what they call a pre-engineered 20 megawatt package that can be used to do rapid deployment. And ultimately, what they want to do and what they're collaborating with one of their partners, which is Linde, we will touch more upon them later in the video, is to have a 100 megawatt design. So this is part of a study that is ongoing as of today, and obviously this could for ITM Power be a huge differentiator if they suddenly could tap into larger projects, because that would significantly impact obviously the potential projects and therefore also the potential revenue that they could generate. So as mentioned earlier in the video, the second part of their business is focused around the refueling stations, similar to Nel. So today they have a subsidiary called ITM Motive that builds, owns and operates hydrogen refueling stations in the UK. And currently they operate 7 of these refueling stations, and they expect to expand it by 12 this summer. They have an ambition to be the leading operator in the UK, and they hope to be able to run 100 fueling stations within the next 5 years. So obviously quite ambitious expansion plans, but compared to, for example, Nel, ITM Power today is far behind, both in terms of the number of refueling stations, but also in terms of where they want to be in 5 to 10 years. ITM Power will, compared to Nel, be a significant smaller player. And one of the things that we like about Nel is also that they already have international presence within this area, whereas it seems that ITM Power is only going to focus on the UK. So obviously the total addressable market that they will have compared to Nel is going to be significantly smaller than compared to, for example, Nel. So that's one of the things we like the growth plans, but we also see some limitations in terms of how big the revenue can be from this angle, and that's obviously a little bit of a downside, at least according to us. ITM Power today has two facilities where they manufacture their products. One is the old one called Atlas Way, and a brand new one called Bessemer that was inaugurated last month. So again, it's brand new. And as you can see here in the production capacity size, they're basically going from 100 megawatt all the way up to more than 1 gigawatt on the new facility. So basically a 10x. Similarly, the effective capacity is actually less than 30 megawatt on Atlas Way, and they expect for Bessemer to have 1 gigawatt here. So they're actually on the effective capacity 30x. So it's a huge step forward. The test zone of the new products, which now enables them on the new facility to do test zones of the 5 megawatt PEM stack module, means it's a 10x again. So they're basically improving their capacity, which is obviously important if you want to grow your business. You can make bigger products, you can make them faster, you can make them cheaper. And that is also somehow reflected in what they call the automation part. There was zero on Atlas Way, zero automation, and now they have moved towards a semi-automated facility, which is obviously good. It also means that the number of people has increased significantly. They had 80 staff on Atlas Way, and they will now have 320 staff at the new facility. So a huge upgrade, which obviously means that the cost for salary is also increasing significantly. And that's also one of the reasons why you are seeing such a huge deficit for ITM Power over the last year. They have simply ramped up significantly, both from general administrative expenses like the staff. So the new Gigafactory in Bessemer, it seems like this Gigafactory has become a very common and popular term to use for companies once they inaugurate new manufacturing facilities. Obviously in ITM Power case, they have had a significant upgrade from 100 megawatt to 1 gigawatt. And what is quite interesting about this specific facility is that ITM Power says that they can enhance the capacity with 1 gigawatt through further automation. And that will basically also means that they will reduce the lead time from 14 to 8 months in the manufacturing process. So obviously this means that they can produce more products faster. That will give them the opportunity to increase their minimum stock. It will reduce the lead times, as we just mentioned, and it will put them in a better position to win projects for larger customers in the future. So it's basically a response to what the market demands of them as of today. Some other cool features about the new facility is that it also houses what they call a 24-hour remote and technically monitoring center, which will be able to support their after-sales services. It will also host a marketing center, it will be the technology center and component stores. On top of that, the facility will have conference facilities. It will host a hydrogen academy to support training of apprentices, local engineers, and also their customers. They will also have facilities for site visits by the customers, shareholders, investors, and other stakeholders. So in theory, if you have invested in ITM Power, you should be able to go and visit the factory if you wish to in the UK. And finally, the new Gigafactory obviously delivers a blueprint for a high capacity and today's semi-automated electrolyzer manufacturing facility, which can be easily replicated, enabling for rapidly deployment if there comes a response to large order volumes. So basically, if ITM Power sees a huge increase in demand, they already have a blueprint and they can replicate this facility, which obviously means that the construction lead time for such facility will be much faster. So So that's obviously another or several different important and interesting elements to the new Gigafactory. Today, ITM Power has 3 key partnerships. The first one, which is Shell, which was entered into in 2015. Shell does not need a further introduction. They're a huge oil and gas company that is transitioning to become a broad energy company. They, at the time, gave ITM Power their biggest project, which was a 10 megawatt refinery project where they were supporting with their electrolyzers. They also have a partnership on refueling stations in the UK. So this is a relative strong relationship that ITM Power has, but we would like to know that Nel also has another partnership with Shell. So it seems like Shell is broadening their partnerships with different hydrogen companies across the world. The next partnership, which is with Linde, is much more important than one with Shell in our opinion. It was entered into in 2019. However, ITM has already dealt with Linde for more than 5 years, so it's not something new. But what was new was that Linde took a 20% equity in ITM Power. And why is that important? Well, for the one who doesn't know Linde that well, they're basically one of the world's largest specialty gas and engineering companies in the world. They have revenue of more than $30 billion per year. They have more than 80,000 employees, and they're actually one of the leaders within the hydrogen sector as of today. So basically, by partnering up with Linde, ITM gets access to a large global customer base. And what Linde has said to ITM is, hey, you guys should just focus on the electrolyzers and you need to provide that for our projects. So this is basically a key enabler for ITM Power to get access to large scale industrial hydrogen projects, which is far above the 10 megawatt of what they have with Shell as of today. And as we will touch upon in the part 2 video, they already recently did a quite big announcement of a project with Linde. So the sales from this JV will basically fuel the new factory in Bessemer. And Linde has put in £4 million as initial cash into the company. They've provided at least 8 staff. They have provided a supervisory panel. So again, they are very much engaged with ITM Power, and this is really a good indicator for ITM Power's future growth, because one of the criticisms that we had was that the revenue was very small compared to the valuation of the company. But if you basically can see that they have now entered into partnerships with companies like Linde, well, that should be a good indicator for that the revenue could increase significantly in the future. Finally, we have a partnership that they entered into with Snam in 2020. Snam is one of the largest Italian energy infrastructure companies. So again, a huge deal for a company like ITM Power. Basically, this will give them access to a global network of projects as well, as Snam has presence in EU, China and UAE. And again, the backlog, as we will touch upon in the part 2 video, has been significantly impacted by the Snam partnerships. So again, this is a very critical partnership that they have established. Snam is again an equity investor similar to Linde. So again, they have an interest in growing the business for ITM through their own projects. And again, it's just showing that ITM Power is getting some preferential rights for not just the Linde partnership, but also through the Snam partnerships. And again, this should mean that the backlog will increase, the revenue will increase, etc., etc. So you know, all these partnerships are critical for ITM Power to be able to grow in the future. And again, it somehow perhaps secures that the facility that they have expanded with the Bessemer is not going to be left totally unused, because it's going to be filled up with orders from the partnerships that they have. So again, being a preferred supplier for these companies obviously has advantages, at least from a revenue perspective. And this is one of the most exciting things about ITM Power as of today. We cannot really comment as to whether their electrolyzer product is better than, for example, Nel. We do not have the technical competencies, but it's definitely good to see that they are teaming up with some of the big players that will give them access to better and better deals. So again, quite interesting and positive news. This was all we had for today in this part 1 video. We really hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe for the part 2 that will come out later this week. Please give us a like, it really helps with the algorithm. And please provide a comment in the comment section. We do always appreciate your input. We do understand we do not know everything, and that's why it's critical for us to also get your input if you have more information on a company like ITM Power. Otherwise than that, there's not much more to say than stay safe. Have a nice day. Hasta la vista, baby.